Check, check, check. How do I look? How do I look?
This is take number 1, chopsticks.
Chopsticks.
Okay, everyone settle.
1 second, guys. We'll be ready. All right.
All right, you ready, Haven?
Uh-huh.
Roll sound.
Speed.
Roll cameras.
Speed. Speed. Mark.
Action!
Moon Garden started in a one-car garage in Burbank, California. I always wanted to make an industrial Alice in Wonderland. I'd been working on a script like that for a while, really inspired by being a dad and how just magically my daughter saw the world. And I reached out to producer and filmmaker John Elfers. He had just gotten a pair of new cameras, and we decided to shoot essentially a test short for this larger project.
Ryan and I met in film school. We started an indie production company together. We cut our teeth on tons of other people's movies. We spent years trying to get back to creating our own stuff with the aesthetic that we love and the style that excites us that's been kind of lost in recent years. We were working on a big studio film, and we went to get drinks after work, and Ryan said to me, you ever think about doing like, our first movie was Finale. He said, you ever think about doing like Finale 2.0? And I was like, man, I would love to do that.
Oh my gosh, the fog just totally comes alive.
We built an entire artificial forest. We erected a small crag, installed monitors in the back where we had different screens being projected. We shot it all on 35mm in my garage, expanding the sets with miniatures and different photographic techniques to create this tactile world. You can tell that it's not entirely real, but you can still reach out and touch it. And then I had the idea to bring my very photogenic, very naturally talented young daughter into this world. And she just took to it so gracefully, which really opened up the possibilities as to what the movie could be.
The first time I was on camera was the forest scene where the crazy lady, aka Angelica, was like, with all the slime. Yeah, that was actually a garage. With all the cameras, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm camera shy, because I'm not camera shy.
Oh, side to side, going side to side to side.
So I was just like, okay, we're rolling. Do what you gotta do. We're rolling.
I just feel very grateful to work with my daughter, Haven. Instead of vanishing for 10 to 12 hours a day like sometimes happens on film, I was able to present these playgrounds for her to explore.
The result of what we got in this short with like almost no dialogue, it was absolute magic.
The short ended up being about 12 minutes as a proof of concept that we used to secure a much larger space, a production studio behind an old abandoned mansion in the Hollywood Hills from Harold Closer, producer of Independence Day Resurgence and Midway, who both John and I have worked with in the past.
This was a recording studio before it was abandoned.
Where we could work and expand this world into something much greater. So we stockpiled over 100,000 feet of 35mm film stock, and we had already found this enormous batch that someone out in Omaha, Nebraska was just piling up in their basement. It was a gold mine of interesting, different, varied film stocks from the 1980s. We actually took it over to Photochem to get it snip tested, and the blue layer, which is the layer that sits on top of the film, slowly exposes over time, so it bleeds into the overall image. The blacks completely putrefied in this midnight blue. And to retime this old dirty film stock, it gave it a very unique look. A real richness, hyper grain, all kinds of film anomalies, I just ended up falling in love with it.
And then we just literally started getting some resources together. I focused on buying all of the equipment that we need, cameras and lenses and grip and lighting and jibs, until finally we got to a point where we could walk on set without a single rental and shoot a feature film on 35mm with our production company, Fire Trial Films.
Here we go. Camera set.
Camera set.
Something's chasing you. High energy, like you're on the playground, okay? Roll cameras.
Camera speeds.
Action. Run, run. Cold, 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 hot, 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 cold, 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 cold. Look at the radio, cold. Hot, 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 hot. Good job. So good.
I really wanted to treat a picture like an art project, where we could come in, build something out, give it the attention it deserves, take the time to wet the set down, take the time to pump the fog in, shoot it, then tear it down and rebuild. Almost like a pop-up art exhibit.
We're making this rig to toss Haven around using bungee cord for when the rhino rises.
See this? Isn't this cool?
It's so cool.
So when you pull on this one, it's gonna make it go.
I love to play pretend, and I get to go on to these new worlds. Like every day after school, he'd be like, Haven, come to the studio, or on the weekend, Haven, come to the studio. And it's like I'm in a new world.
Roll camera.
Speed.
Paddle away! Paddle away! Camera cuts.
I caught myself wet.
Do you think this is funny? Is this guy funny? Let's get rid of him.
Building the miniature well.
I'm gonna start with just a little bit at first.
Visual effects super pro Ian Hunter gave us this tip about how to make miniature leaves. Thanks, Ian.
So then we had a place to work, and we just started building sets there. It's not much larger than a studio apartment, but just to have a place to go, to have the cameras, was really just invaluable.
There's an old saying, like, how do you eat an elephant? And it's like, well, you eat it one bite at a time. The idea was to make this epic movie, and we broke it up into stages that we knew we could do with what we had at that time.
And then hopefully you're able to invite insanely talented cast and crew to come help, and we execute shooting for however long it needs.
105 Alpha, take 3.
Roll camera.
Speed. Mark.
Action.
The parents were two very special roles, and it's very close to my heart. Augie Duke, she's done amazing work. She just has this wonderful way to get to this very wild, real, primal place, which really spoke to the Sarah character, who I always felt was kind of yearning for this youthful exuberance that she couldn't get back to.
Sarah, it's one of her greatest gifts in life is to become a mother, but it's hard for her because her number one priority is her daughter, but she also wants to get back to her own happiness, and she's sort of having a struggle with that. And I think maybe all mothers can relate to this. You sort of forget who you are during the journey of motherhood, and so you have to find your balance between self-love and loving somebody else, even though they're number one.
Rione Davis plays Alex, that counterpoint to Sarah's kind of wild, unhinged yearning, but still keep that intensity as this struggling, frustrated writer.
Push, and you push, and I shove back, and then I'm the problem.
We're coming in to the film at Alex's last straw. He's been dealing with holding his family together for years and years and years. He's almost at the breaking point for himself, but he's just holding on. And it's that thread of love that he has for his wife, and that massive rope of love that he has for his daughter.
And it was important to me that they both came across as loving parents. The problem is that they're just firing in two different directions. So the film is centered around this troubled family, but we knew that we needed very special character actors throughout the fantasy world. People with dynamic looks, who were great with physical acting. I immediately reached out to Morgana Ignis. I knew I needed a character to embody the nightmare figure, the chattering darkness that's chasing Emma throughout her dream world.
Teeth was a fascinating character to get to explore. The sentience behind this creature is just on these creepy, twisted set of teeth. Everything else we're seeing as far as the body is this waterlogged corpse that these teeth find, dragging through this world. The physicality of that was a lot of fun to play with, as you're basically puppeteering yourself as this body that's been sitting out in this pool of water for who knows how long.
Think like a backwards, spider. As you hit, if you can just...
We had worked with Morgana before, a great physicality, terrific with movement. She's also a puppeteer with the Jim Henson Company. So after we had shot her portions on set, we were able to then bring her in for a day of puppeteering ADR.
So she had the physical teeth on a black glove, and she just mimicked the angle and the action of each shot that we needed the teeth in.
As I had the teeth in my hand, I'm trying to match the energy and trying to match the emotion and the intent. It's almost like you got all the line work done and then finally get to go back in with the color.
So those teeth are a live element that are then comped in to her performance. We also had Angelica Ujoa, amazing physical actor. We shot her in this stop motion method on a fleet of 35 cameras. Timothy Lee DePriest, he plays the groom character. He just brought a wonderful dedication to the role and also an edge to that.
The princess is here!
Then we had Maria Olsen, who's an amazing performer. Brought everybody to tears on set during her beautiful monologue on the cloud. Haven still talks about Maria and their moments in between shooting.
And there's an unscripted moment in the movie where she's saying goodbye to Maria and she was like, can I give her a hug? And she goes up and gives Maria a hug that was so sincere. It was literally Haven being like, I don't know when I'm gonna see you again. And she brought that energy to everyone that she worked with on set.
What if we ate this entire thing in 5 minutes? Real quick, brace yourself. We ready?
Me and Breon Davis and Haven had a chemistry read at first. We built this fort and we played and it felt safe. Right away, you walk into a room and there's this little beautiful redhead girl. She just blows you away with how authentically real and honest she is and how she's very much in the moment and she's super sensitive. So she's a big feeler and I was like, oh, a woman from my own heart. So we're both these like little sensitive beings and I'm like, oh, I could definitely play her mother. Cut from the same cloth.
It was adorable in the green room. I mean, the plus and minus of that situation is that she had absolutely no fear of me whatsoever.
The scary scenes were not that bad because I knew the people who were acting.
Morgana would be in full, demon makeup, and Haven would just cuddle up next to her and chat with her.
And it's like, okay, I know we have a fun relationship here, but remember, we're going into that room and you have to be genuinely terrified of me.
Roll camera. Speed. Drop. Lunge.
Mere hours before the shoot. How long did it take us to build this set today?
One really long day.
Roll camera.
Speed. Mark.
Cue playback.
We also had Philip Walker, who's a very striking actor. He plays the lilting lullaby in the dreamscape. He showed up day one and had the whole piece memorized.
He'd get up there and go, okay, play the song again, preparing for it, and then he could hit everything in time.
There's a song in Moon Garden that's featured prominently. It's Without You by the band Badfinger. My brother, Lucas Harris, a very talented musician, he created the instrumental version that you see the musician play, like something out of an instrument that this guy had built down in a basement somewhere. And then I actually had my wife come in. She has a beautiful singing voice and do the vocals on it.
For your face as you are leaving.
We then filter those vocals through radio, play it all on top of Philip's amazing performance, and that's the composition of Without You that you see in the film there.
Well, I can't forget this evening and your face when you were leaving. guess that's just the way the story.
To me, the music is a very important part of Moon Garden overall, and really gives it so much of its identity and feeling and atmosphere. And sometimes it's hard to determine where sound ends and score begins. I worked closely with Michael Darragon, a very talented graphic artist and composer and musician. He created over 600 hours of material. Ambiances, swells, risers, and then obviously outright moments of full-on score, and really gave it its overall vibe and identity. There's not a lot of dialogue in the picture, so we really wanted to feel big and powerful and have the audience go through an experience. Something unique that hopefully they've never heard or seen before. There's no CGI in the picture, and it's something that we're really proud of. We never wanted anything that was stock. Everything on camera we wanted to create from the ground up.
Floating weather tower!
Deciding on every detail, every aesthetic.
We shot everything that we could practically, and just extensive practical effects throughout the movie. We did a lot of puppeteering of just practical things, like if machinery needed to be moving or something needed to be functional.
Setting up a live video feed.
And the simple effects, because they were there in the real environment, oftentimes read better.
You've got signal.
Than digital effects, because the actors can interact with them and they can respond to them in a genuine way. Especially for Haven, she could just fall right into that reality because she was surrounded by it.
Oftentimes, I would just try to react to what was happening. For the scene where the bride and the groom were both like dancing together and kicking stuff off the table, and like how I laughed. You guys didn't see, but everyone was dancing on the table.
Hey, over here!
Everyone was doing like the monkey dance or like, and kicking stuff off the table, trying to make me laugh. And I laughed, of course. I laughed because it was funny.
Great, camera cuts.
The attention to detail, imagination, you have an idea, and it's wild, and it's out here, and then you bring it into reality with practicals, the puppets.
And get up.
I mean, it's imagination at its finest that becomes tangible.
Fog. There are, of course, tons of visual effects. There's over 750 visual effect shots, but all of those visual effects are comps of real elements.
We've divided these tanks with plastic so that we can separate a layer of distilled water from salt water, and then we remove the plastic and inject condensed milk, which rests on top of the layer of salt water, and voila, clouds.
Roll camera.
The cinematography in Moon Garden across the board is just like a masterclass in old school tricks.
There's one shot right at the beginning of the film mixing 3 different jib shots. The whole film starts on this beautiful 800mm shot of the moon with cloud tank sky that then blends into a little false moon that we have hanging up there, reflected in a water pool, that then as we tilt up with the jib head, we swing the moon away, and then we jib up to the window, which then dissolves into the window going across the parents' house.
Just look straight down.
Start drifting.
Beautiful.
Great. We brought on an incredibly talented and hardworking cinematographer, Wolfgang Meyer, and I really don't know if anybody else could have accomplished this film.
Any situation that came up, Wolf would have a cigarette and light it and go, yeah, I've done this before. What you need to do is, and then he would tell us little nuggets of wisdom that he brought from just years in the film industry.
Killing it, Wolf. And wearing banana shoes.
And then the whole chase through the well. Wolf was like, look, you're gonna need a breathing apparatus, because you can't hold your breath and frame a shot. It's just impossible, I've tried.
one where it goes, just to make sure we cover frame. You know what I mean, Wolf?
Yeah.
This? Where it's like under the water. Good, yeah. We also had other terrific camera techs, Kevin James Barry and Will Sexton. And everyone behind the camera actually appears in the film itself.
My name is John Barkowski or something like that.
And I'm Penny Nichols.
We're gonna induce a subdural hematoma on the patient, so then she goes into a coma for the rest of the movie.
That sounds pretty good.
And we're gonna send a big bill to the parents.
We got associate producer Will Sexton. And
Steadicam operator, loader, clapper.
That's right, we got DP Wolfgang Meyer.
We must have shot with 12 different 35mm cameras, so it required an incredible knowledge of these older camera systems.
I have never in my career heard something rolling when a director is called rolling.
Action!
That was just the most classic sound of hearing real film rolling through a real camera. It just reverberated through me.
Each camera had its own thing that it could do. So we shot on the 35-3 for slow motion and time lapse. We shot on an Arri 2C for jib and steady cam. We shot on the BL3, BL4, and a 4S, 3-perf and 2-perf. We used underwater housing, the Hydroflex. And then for miniatures, we had these little IMO crash cameras. They're like 9-pound cameras. They only shoot a minute of film at a time, but they're really tiny, and you can just jam them into these little spaces. So we made these miniature sets. And then Ryan had the IMO, like basically on just a steel pole, and he would just run the IMO through the set with a hose attached to the bottom, blowing air. And so through the chase scene, the POVs of the wind blowing and the leaves scattering are these sets that are maybe 8 feet long and these little corridors that are 6 inches across. We're about to film the pullback from Haven at the red window to reveal the pipework land that she ventures into afterward.
Roll camera.
Oh my god, that barely clears. Sweet.
One of the longest shots in the film actually took over 3 months to shoot, where the teeth character goes by a batch of fruits. We lock the camera off, and then we run the shot for over 3 months as that food starts to slowly decompose. And so that's the kind of care that we put into the photography and the natural, practical quality. That's pretty good. We used forced perspective photography out in the desert in the Salton Sea to place Haven into those environments naturally.
I think that could work. I see your feet there, yeah.
The hardest thing to do on set was definitely the desert scene because it was so hot. It was so hot and it smelled like toxic fish. And some places didn't even have a toilet. And in between takes, they're like, Haven, you can go sit in the car. We're gonna build the set.
Action. Even bigger.
We wanted as much to be in camera as possible. And so a lot of that has to do with the makeup effects, and almost everything you see is the incredible work of Rachel Wagner. She built the entire rhino, which when you look at it, it looks big. It was big. Had to come in 2 pieces in a truck bed. I mean, it was the size of a car. And Rachel and her partner actually came out and were the puppeteers for that, out in the middle of the Salton Sea in 115-degree weather.
Rachel Wagner, she was such a team player. This is someone who not only got what we were doing, but would jump in herself. There's a scene where Haven's under blankets and all these creepy hands come out as though Teeth's hands have multiplied and are surrounding her.
Roll camera.
And so she was like, oh, well, we don't need makeup for this. It's just shadows. We can just cut fingernails and just tape them on. It'll take 3 seconds. And so she jumped in. She was another set of hands.
Action, Rachel.
that. That was amazing, dude.
Haven, such a good job.
Haven, you did so amazing in that take. Like the look
I
you
wish we
got.
would've-
Did
yeah,
you see all that?
Starts crouched and then steps up onto this apple box. Yeah. I think we'll be able to get the height we need. Oh, cool. Sweet.
I think everything about the film was very experimental.
Action. Look around the desert.
Going off of concepts and ideas, because, you know, we're trying things that are somewhat untested. The floating elements, being on a rig, floating across the ground, and how we're gonna rig that up. How this character was going to rise out of flat surfaces, like out of a toilet bowl. That is a difficult thing oftentimes in filmmaking, to have that continuous experimentation, but it's also the thing that leads to the most unique product at the end of the day. You get your best stuff when you're not quite sure if it's gonna work.
This is the one. I want you to be down here, and I want you to reach up really high. Grab this, and pull yourself up really strong. Camera set?
We're ready.
Great.
But I don't want you to help me. Don't help me, Daddy. Don't help me.
Okay. And when you climb, imagine that you're super, super high up in the sky. You ready?
On some of the stunt days, the days where Haven had physical things to do, I knew how athletic she was. I knew how physically gifted she was. But still, she was able to surprise me and the people on set with the things she was able to do. Yeah, see how that feels?
Actually, that would really be cool.
Let's do it. Let's just start them.
Do I sit right here?
No, let's start up there.
Up and out.
Up and down.
Speed, Mark.
And action. One of the biggest stunts in the movie is the stair fall. We broke it up in a montage type way using practical effects and tricks.
Lying in the fake foam steps.
The rolling down the stairs thing is just all made out of pillows. And action.
Beautiful.
We're making a foam crash housing to shoot Haven's POV going down the stairs. And then we'll puppeteer her head impact.
Hello. And roll camera. The more emotional stuff is where I think she really shines and really shows a wisdom, an emotional wisdom beyond her years, where she has to break down for her family, the scenes where she has to dig deep and find something very honest. Cold, you're very cold. Slowly open your eyes and get me over here.
I think a good actor can make it real. Make it look real, and don't look into the camera. Don't be like, hi, I'm your best friend.
You remember when we went to the doctor's office that one time? Now what do you do at the doctor's office when they say be very, very still? The layer sequence was a very difficult one to shoot. There's a lot of different things going on in that moment. Haven is watching this dark fantasy tale. She's having a strange flashback to her dad narrating it. She's at the same time going through surgery.
Our skin splits, and then there's fat sections underneath. And that's the big section that you're gonna have to cut through.
Kevin, aren't you supposed to be behind the camera?
I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah. Haven, you ready, sweetie?
Time to sleep, baby.
Are you a doctor? You see?
We're all doctors.
You guys are so funny.
I know.
Roll camera and action. Great camera cuts.
All right.
Good job, Haven. And roll camera and action. Camera cuts.
Good, look right? Good. It looked good on camera.
I cannot believe how good her hair looks. I spent forever looking for a wig.
And in the end, we use a doll.
Wait a minute. This isn't a child. What the hell?
So all of these things are being cross-cut, and I do believe that cinema might be the only place that you can do that, to tether it all into this dream logic moment.
Watch your heads, please.
Cool stuff.
We're gonna. So cool. Yeah, thank you so much.
So I really appreciate physical acting, being able to work with your body in interesting ways and create dynamic looks just with that. I had seen Emily Meister in a film called Chatterbox, and I knew immediately that I wanted to work with her. I had Emily come out and perform a knitter character without a head that slowly rises and brings all those screens to life. But when her faces appear in each of those frames, that's material that we had shot of Emily in a milk bath, spewing ink out of her mouth and reciting this twisted fairy tale.
Release me at once or I'll turn you into bile.
Played back in time so she can be reacting with it. On set, I was just calling out the number 1, 2, 3, which frame she needs to be under at that particular moment, and she would be basically popping and locking in this very interesting, unique, organic way, going back and forth from each one, while knitting at the same time her body up the chest.
Cut.
Ah, okay.
And then finally, there's an entire animation sequence. I did each drawing, colored it in this kind of Crimson World collage. And then Haven delivers just a powerhouse performance, getting to a really real place. Even though on set we are just playing Frozen on the screens in between takes.
The work, I mean, when you see it, the work this little girl did was, I mean, like nuts. Incredible.
If you've never tried working with child actors, kids generally come in and have an idea of what acting is, and they act with a capital A. And Haven just has this huge heart and this really sweet soul. And so she would just come in to these imaginary circumstances and just exist.
Roll camera.
Speed. Mark.
Action. Now go up, Haven. Look at it. Great, camera cuts. Good shot.
We're tarping off the set to shoot day for night.
Okay, great. All right, you ready to do this? You guys want to run?
Building the crow's nest of the weather tower.
To get that handcrafted aesthetic of Moon Garden, it takes someone who can look at, basically who can look at stuff as like raw material and find beauty in broken things, which is like a theme of the movie. We're gonna make it rain. There's like a discovery process in it, and so everything in the film was like this living art form. Ryan talked about like looking at the movie as like doing like a series of like art pop-ups, and that was very much what it was like to make Moon Garden.
I'm gonna say lever, okay? That means you reach up, you take this, and you pull like that. Then Will is going to change the lenses. But make sure that you're looking through the viewfinder when you do it. Great. Now, when you look inside, it's all out of focus. So the way that you focus it is you take this and you turn it.
We're creating layers in camera. We're shooting through this medium format camera.
1 layer.
The window.
2 layers.
To the screen.
3 layers. This is the fire trial version of After Effects. When I say action, I just want you to dial in and listen, because you're going to hear Mommy singing on the speakers. So I want you to look over at the speakers. And remember, Mommy thinks she's never going to see you again. So what are you going to do? You have to comfort her, right? Like you said.
Mommy, I hear you.
All the old grim fairy tales start at very dark places.
My love.
They were moral warnings to children before they went to bed. And Moon Garden has this old folklore, old fairy tale approach and an element of visual world building that makes you feel very immersed.
And you're seeking out the blood in the water.
Yeah.
Down over there. Then you can lower your feet down. Okay?
As opposed to letting your mind control you, you begin to control your mind. And I think that that's what Emma's really doing in the film. The narrative is following her to say it's going to be this way, and she is saying no, it's going to be this way. And purity is going to win.
Slowly look right into the lens and realize that there's nothing in there. Don't go in yet. And then you say, you're just all empty, like you're realizing it. And you say it like you know exactly what to do.
You're just all empty.
What are we at?
568 still.
Great, let's do it.
Action.
Moon Garden is about a family coming together, overcoming their problems.
Sir, we made it to the desert.
Certain parts of the film hit members of the audience in a different way. I think that's the metaphorical nature of it, the fact that, you know, it is dealing with trauma, it is dealing with heartbreak, it is dealing with all these very heavy emotions.
You get to experience this otherworldly place that no one's ever seen.
There's this type of movie that's been sort of lost to time.
It was always meant to feel like a film that was rediscovered or found, as if somebody excavated it from an attic somewhere, dusted it off, and threw it up on an old projector.
It was an enormous labor of love, and it wasn't easy. But it was our hard work and devotion to telling this story that really brought it home.
Again. Good job.
That is hilarious.
I want to see it again.
No. Let's do it, David. Come on, let's go.
The whole entire crew, everyone who worked on Moon Garden is my family. I love them so much.
It's just been immensely rewarding working with my daughter Haven and all of her just very instinctive natural talents. My beautiful wife doing the vocals on the tracks, my closest friend and collaborator, John, helping in such a myriad of ways. I do think of it as like a piece of art, how a child sees the world, how broken things can fix themselves, and in a way, a monument to family. And the light can be found even in the darkest places.
That's a wrap. Soft sticks or chopsticks out.